Today we're going to be doing the season summary for July. Just take a look at what we played against on the ladder. As always, this is just my experience and is not representative of the ladder or anyone else's experiences necessarily, although it can be. So, getting into it, let's just start off with the factions we saw this season. I think we played 135 games-ish, something like that. So for the factions we saw on the ladder, the most common was, as always, Nilfgaard, 30% of our games. 20% were against monsters, so a fair bit there actually. Nilfgaard and monsters making up half of our opponents for the entire season, and the other four factions are stuffed in the other half of our pie chart here. We've got Skellige at 15.5 roughly, Scoia'tael, Northern Realms, and Syndicate all at 11 to 12%. Syndicate finally making it out of the least popular faction, up to 12% of my opponents. I think this is largely due to the buffs they got in the last patch, or nerf reversions, however you want to call them. The faction as a whole is actually pretty strong right now, so it increased a lot in popularity. So this is what we saw on the ladder. Nothing too unusual other than the Syndicate making a little bit of a resurgence here. On to the decks by the faction. So these are the decks, most popular decks in each faction. I put on here all the decks we played more than one time. There were a lot of unique decks this season. In my experience, I saw a lot of decks just one time, which is always interesting to see, a lot of variety. But as far as the most popular monster decks, we have winning out here Ogroid Renfrey, which really surprised me because I don't think that deck's actually that good. I think it's like fine, but I don't think it's like a really strong deck, so I'm surprised to see so much of it. As in, it's only 4, which isn't a ton. Like I said, I saw a lot of variety in my games, but still the most popular one. Then we have Non-Devotion Vampires, of course. That's a nice deck. Then we have Renfrey Vampires. Then we have Frost, Midrange Fruits, Haunt Koshei. This is Haunt Koshei, not the Renfrey Koshei, which is a surprise to me as well, although I did see one of those. And then we've got the regular Ogroids with no Renfrey here. So actually, Ogroids overall, very popular here. If you add these together into just Ogroids, I might add that next season, just make the deck type without the neutral packages. Maybe we'll see. And then we've got the Vampires here as the second most popular. Pretty interesting. Frost still down pretty low, which is surprising. It used to be the most popular by far. And it didn't get nerfed. On to Nilfgaard. As you can see, there's a lot more decks here. Nilfgaard was the most popular faction we faced on the ladder. The most popular deck we ran into, as I can try and adjust this just a tiny bit without spoiling the next one. There we go. Is Henry Shupa Assimilate, still the most popular deck. We played 8 of those. That's a lot. And then we have Renfrey, Alberic, Hyperthin, Double Scenario, Cultist, so Masquerade Ball and Cultist, that deck. Enslave, Assimilate. I was actually really surprised to see my Cultist decks. That was an impressive one to me. But I guess Heatwave is not as popular now with changes to things like Bank and decks not necessarily running Heatwave, more Devotion, not that much more, but things like Commandos, for example, you just get punished with the Cultist because you can't interact with it. So we have those, and then we've got Imposter Control Renfrey, and down here with three Colgrim Clogs, Spotter Spam, Renfrey Soldiers, Ivo Assimilate, kind of like Assimilate, Renfrey Assimilate, and Assimilate Pure, so no Shoop in it, just pure Assimilate. And as you can see here, Nilfgaard really riddled with the Renfrey decks at the moment. In my experience, we have what? 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them were Renfrey. I guess it's not riddled with that many. That is a lot of different decks using Renfrey, but you can see, again, we'll get to the leaders in a minute, but a lot of Assimilate decks very popular and a lot of different Renfrey versions. Northern Realms didn't have the same story. We only saw 5 different Northern Realms decks more than once. As you saw, Northern Realms was not that popular in my games. We have Blue Stripes Commandos, very strong deck at the moment, but only saw 2 of it. Stockpile Siege, still pretty good. We went from the bottom up this time, not sure why we did that. Shield Ball Golden Echoes is just pure value. Just the value mid-range deck. Then you've got Northern Realms Knights, and then at number 1, once again, Temple Demavend. I don't believe this is the strongest deck. Blue Stripes is really good, and Dun Banner Foltis is really good too. So I don't know if Temple Demavend's actually the best deck, but it's the one I saw the most. But not too much to say here. Again, not that many Northern Realms opponents. Same story for Skellige, not that many, but the ones we saw were more concentrated into specific decks. So we've got the most popular one being Skellige Onslaught Pirates Voyage. So this is actually just playing the Endless Voyage in the deck, not making it off of Compass. or anything. I put that in a different one, which we didn't see that much of. Then we have Beast Renfrey, as always, never seems to go away. Then we've got just pure Druids and Compass Liffey Witchers, which is a fun deck. We played that before. So that is Skellige. Nothing too surprising here. With all the changes to raids and such and nerfs to the deck, no raids, didn't play a single one, so I suspect they'll get buffed again. We'll see them next season. But moving on to Scoia'tael. This graph tells the story. We played, I think, 16 or 17 Scoia'tael opponents. All but 2 of them were a unique deck. So like 1 Elf Swarm, 1 Traps, 1 Waylays, 1 Heist Waylays, 1 Precision Strike Dragons, 1, you get the idea. The only one we saw more than once was Hand Buff Renfrey, which is not what I expected. I expected to see like a deck that's popular, but with the destruction of Harmony last patch, just nothing for Syndicate, or nothing for Scoia'tael really seems to have taken over in popularity in my games at least. Finally, move on to Syndicate. Again, Syndicate very not that popular, but very concentrated into a couple of good decks. The kind of the opposite of Scoia'tael, actually. If I can actually scroll this close enough, that's close enough. So we have 3 decks here more than twice, or more than once, I should say. At the top, we have Akarantia. It makes a lot of sense. Candle got buffed. What's it called? Shady Vendor got buffed. Moriel's got buffed. It's a tribute card. Like a lot of buffs to this deck, so it makes sense for it to be really popular. This deck's also really good. Then we have just pure bounty and then Firesworn. I don't think these Firesworn. I think Firesworn is just getting tested. I think these are all at the beginning of the season, right after the buff to Lieutenant Van Hurst. Since then, I haven't really seen any. So this is more of a beginning of the season trying things out, if I recall correctly. But again, nothing too popular there. If we look overall, most popular decks, we've got Henry Shoop Assimilate, Pirates Voyage, Akarantia, Ogroid Renfrey, Enslave Assimilate, Double Snare Cultist, Renfrey Albric, Renfrey Beasts, Skellige, Bounty, and Non-Devotion Vampires. This last one, there's a bunch at 3, I think. I just put one on here. I should have trimmed it down to the top 9 so it wouldn't show up, but whatever. Let's move on to the most popular leaders. This is what I always like looking at. So for monsters, we have the most popular leader was Blood Scent. Vampire is pretty popular. Then you've got Carapace. So you kind of see the idea here. All the vampires, the Ogroids. Then we have Overwhelming Hunger for a variety of decks. Force of Nature, Fruits, 2 White Frost, and 1 Arrakis Swarm. Naturally, Tatterwing. But yeah, that is the deck, or that's the monsters. I don't think anything here surprises me. All of the monsters leaders are viable, which is kind of nice. For Northern Realms, this one probably is not a surprise either. But Inspired Zeal at the top with 6 of our opponents. We've got Shield Wall for I don't know if it was the Meta Breaker deck. I don't know. Some people made videos on it. The Golden Necker one. Then we've got a couple stockpiles, inspirations, 1 mobilization Reaver player, and 1 pincer maneuver for Melidily, Traveling Priestess stuff. But no one playing Uprising. Again, not a surprise. I almost wonder if Uprising. I wonder how to buff Uprising. I'm not the biggest fan of just buffing leaders, but it might be needed. Uprising just does not compete. Anyway, on to Scoia'tael. You'll see here, we have 5 Precision Strike, the most popular, then 4 Invigorates, a variety of different hand buff decks. Not all Renfrey, obviously. Some Deadeye Ambushes, Gift, Forge, Girl Texas. There are 5 different Precision Strike decks we played, like Construct version, Dragon version, Milva, not Milva, what's it called? A Renfrey version, a Waylay Simloss version, and then like a Quad Golden Froth version, like 4 different ones. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, this is the Scoia'tael. I wouldn't say it's too surprised, and you can kind of see the destruction of Harmony. Not a single Call of Harmony opponent I played this season. So, don't know what to do about this. I feel like Waters will get buffed this Balance Council, and this will be fine, but I don't know. Not too many of them, so can't say too much. On to Skellige. Skellige, we saw all of its leaders see play in my games. So we have Onslaught, the most popular for a variety of pirate decks. Rage of the Sea for Beast Renfrey. And we have Blaze of Glory for a variety of different decks. Then you have Reckless Flurry, this is like Witcher stuff, Battle Trance, Druids, Patricidal Fury, and then we got the 1 Ursine Ritual. Ursine Ritual Self-Wound, by the way, even after the Small Blood nerf, very, very strong deck. We might make another video on that one. And on to Nilfgaard. Here we go. The best, or not the best, the most popular Nilfgaard leader is Double Cross at the moment, in my games at least. So Double Cross is just all the Assimilate decks put together. There's a bunch of different ones. Together, you get a whole bunch of Double Crosses. Then we have Imposter. These, I believe, were almost all Renfrey decks. This is the Renfrey decks. There's a control with Imposter Renfrey decks, and then the Cultists played Imposter as well. So those together make up this. You got a bunch of Enslaves, a bunch of Tactical Decisions. It's power buff. It's 3 Tactical Decision essentially got 3 provision buff last patch because Mage Assassin is always in Tactical Decision. And then you have the actual leader, so you got 3 provisions buffed to this deck, which is why it's so popular, which is kind of nice because it was unplayed mostly before, but a lot of the decks that play it are, I find, really annoying, such as Clog and Mill and just Renfrey Control. Those are the most, you saw that earlier, like we played a decent amount of Clog and Mill decks this season, which not that fun. On to Syndicate. We've got Blood Money and Off the Books tied for the most popular. Makes sense. Off the Books really good at the moment with buffs to the Shady Vendor and Moriel's tribute cards. Blood Money is just always pretty solid for Bounty. Then you got Congregation for Firesworn. Again, I think it's all early in the season. And then 2 Jackpots, a Pirate's Cove, no Lined Pockets, and no Hidden Caches, which is pretty interesting. Make a quick cut there because that didn't seem right. I remember a crime deck, but the crime deck was an off the books deck. So yeah, that is actually right. No Lined Pockets. That amazes me. I had to go double check that one real quick. And then we have Hidden Cache, which yeah, Hidden Cache is a thing. So overall, most popular leaders, we've got Double Cross, Imposter, Tactical Decision. All 3 of these Nilfgaard. Again, Nilfgaard is the most common faction we play against, so not too surprising. Bloodset and Carapace, again, Monster, second most popular, then Inspired Zeal, Onslaught, and Slave. Overwhelming Hunger, Precision Strike, Off the Books, Blood Money, Invigorate, and Rage of the Sea. So, I wouldn't say this is surprising, but if we look at the least popular leaders, the ones that got no use were Uprising, no surprise. Kalahari, no surprise, that got destroyed. Lined Pockets, that one does surprise me. I think that's just our queuing up. Or I think it's just that Off the Books became more popular with buffs to tribute cards in particular. Hidden Cache, we've got Arrakis Swarm, Pincer Maneuver, Mobilization. These are just the one-ofs. I wouldn't say that's too surprising. Like the Nilfgaard Knights we'll have to revisit. But those are the leaders for this season. Then we go to the deck type. This is like combo. Well, yeah, here it is. Combo, Control, Engine, Midrange, and Point Slam. Combo really making a comeback this season. That's because I generally consider the Blue Stripes deck, for example, to be a combo deck. I didn't make up most of this. We only played 2 of it, but just like an example, it really is more of a combo-y deck. It really wants to get this one strategy off. But as far as what we've got here, we've got 30% mid-range, pretty normal, 27% engine, pretty normal, 16% control, 16% combo, then 11% point slam. Point slam, again, always. Point Slam's really not that great anymore. It's like pure Point Slam decks, like even just like Big Ogreoid's kind of the generic example for Point Slam. They got a little bit of control. I still consider them a Point Slam deck though, but there's not that many of them. Most decks fall into like a mid-rangey deck. So interesting. Control, engine, and mid-range. Range really taken over. But yeah, nothing too surprising. The only thing here is the combo's kind of gone on an incline here. And lastly, as far as the neutral packages we see in the ladder, so this is number of decks, not percent. I should change it to percent. I think, yeah, we'll change it to percent. Give me a second. All right, quick edits have been completed. We're into percents now. So for the neutral packages, remember we played more than 100 games, so there's not going to be like precisely numbers, but the most popular neutral package in our games was Renfrey at between 18 and 19% of our games. So that means that when I record 5 or 6 videos, which is 5 or 6 games for a video, which is what I normally do. I usually record 5 or 6. Then on average, 1-ish game I have to cut from either like the opponent leaving early because of a misplay, or like it's just like a duplicate. Like we've got like 3 Nilfgaard games, like 3 tactical decision games. I want to cut one of the tactical decision games, something like that. Usually record 5 or 6 games and then put 4 or 5 into the video. And what that means is on average we play 1 Renfrey deck per video, which usually gets cut out so you guys don't have to see it because it usually it's not that exciting of a game. All the Renfrey decks are pretty similar. But as far as the rest of it, we have Shoop coming in here at, what is this, like 7.5%? That's pretty interesting. There's a lot of Shoop decks, and we've got Golden Necker down to like 3%, 3% Dragons, and 2% Bombs, and like 1% Constructs. So these are the neutral packages. Now, one thing I want to mention here, which I think we'll talk about maybe in a video someday, but if you look at this, we've got, what's this, like 18% plus, we'll just round this one up and down. So 18, 26, 30, 35-ish. Now, 33% of the games we play on the ladder are against a neutral package deck. So 1/3 of the games are against a neutral focus deck. Because these are pretty much, like these aren't, I'm not saying they're non-devotion decks. The non-devotion percent's way higher. This is neutral focus, right? If a deck's playing Renfrey, it's usually about Renfrey. If it's playing Bombs, it's usually about Bombs. If it's playing Constructs, it's usually about Constructs. If it's playing Shoop, it's usually based around Shoop. If it's playing Dragons, it's usually got all the Dragons. It's Dragon deck. And then Golden Necker is like kind of an exception, but usually it's based around Golden Necker because it forces the deck building a specific way with like Siri and stuff. Although you don't even see Siri anymore. But that means 1/3 of the decks on the ladder are based around a neutral package, which I don't know if that's good or bad. That's just an interesting thing to note. Yeah, that is what it is. But anyway, guys, that is our season summary. Hopefully you found it interesting. And since someone pointed out last time we didn't mention the disconnectors and the emote spammers, I didn't update this up here, the win column. I gotta change that. But anyway, it doesn't matter for this. So as far as what we saw, we only had one disconnector this season, which was a Slave Assimilate player. I remember this game. What did they do? They did something stupid, then quit. Oh, they played Leo in the wrong row. They played Leo like for the Witcher, range destroy Witcher, and we had like a 9 and they left. That's what that one was. And then we have the emote spammer. One emote spammer. This was in one of the videos actually. It was a movement player. So that'll just toss that in there. So that's the season summary, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see what we've got going on next season. That'll be it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And you can check out some more videos over here. And thanks for watching.